Welcome to season 3 of Our World with Norman Busigu. Now the premise of the show is quite simple. I'm going to report on and explore important topics affecting real people like you and me. Now within this there are two aims. Firstly, to have a positive social impact, and secondly, to inform. Now in this episode, I'll be interviewing Nicolette Bosch, a fashion, editorial and celebrity stylist. She's also a professional designer with her own brand that focuses on high quality hats and accessories. Her work has been featured in publications including Vouge Italia and Stylecruze magazine and much more. And she has invaluable industry experience as some of the UK's top courtier and theatrical hat makers. Now in this episode, we'll be diving deep into her life story to learn more about her journey into the professional world of styling and design. We'll be learning how she's navigated drastic changes to the creative industry caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. We'll be learning about any pieces of advice she has for anyone looking to enter into her lines of work and much more. So stay tuned because you don't want to miss this. Right, and we are here today with Nicolette Bosch on this freezing December afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here
Absolute
today.
Pleasure.
How are you? How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you.
No, it's great to have you here. Looking well, in amazing spirits, and of course your amazing ensemble. So thank you for joining us here once again. And yeah, let's just get straight into it and learn really about the world of you, the exciting things that you've done and the perspectives you have about the world, your career and much more. So let's start this discussion all the way back to the origins of your journey and really your life story. So from what I understand, you were born in South Africa, but now you are based currently in London in the UK. So I'd love to know, when did you first move to the UK and what sorts of cultural differences do you really see between South Africa and the UK that really stand out to you?
I've lived in quite a few countries around the world. And I think my life experiences, my curiosity, and where I invent or reinvent myself, I always take pieces of myself with me, pieces of my life. My curiosity leads me to so many really interesting places. Getting back to South Africa will always be a part of who I am, and the colour, the vibrance, the people, the energy, I take all of that with me no matter where I go. And I think London is very much a melting pot of the world, and that's why we're here. So differences, no big differences. Language has always been easy. We've got 11 official languages in South Africa. I speak 3 of them. I'm lucky that I do speak other languages as well. I speak German, I speak Portuguese. So I adapt to wherever I am.
Awesome. I love that. And just there were 2 things that you said there that I want to zone into. So this thing of pieces of you and curiosity that you've carried through in your life. What sort of key life events would you say, you know, on this point of curiosity, what inspired you essentially to want to have a career in the creative industries, you know, building that idea of curiosity? What made you curious to want to have a career in the creative industries?
I think my life is pretty colourful. And the template and the footprints of who I am, I think that transcends and very much galvanized in everything that I do. I draw a lot of inspiration from architecture. My headpieces are very structured around that. There's always lots of color that I pull into everything. And I think moving forward, I think that will always be a thread of my brand. And it is a thread of my brand that carries through to everything that I do.
Cool. So just building on that then, which passion came first for you? Was it the styling side or the design side? You spoke about architecture just then, so I'm assuming it's design, but which is it for you that came first?
I come from a creative family.
Okay.
My dad was in the building industry, and I would spend hours with him on building plans and structure. So I think a lot of my precision in my work comes through with the architecture, and very pedantic about how things look in the aesthetic. I will never send something out that isn't complete in whether it's a piece of art or a headpiece, if it's going on set. Styling was very organic in my work and my creative side. My background is hospitality, so I always say my hats and the template of my design, I moved from designing on a plate to the head. So sometimes my pieces are a little bit, I call them wearable art. So yeah.
Okay.
It's not for everybody, but I do feel that there is something in all of the collections that is for someone.
Cool. No, I love that. And just going deep into your story now, we know about where the passion source was ignited, but going into the real meat of your career development, as it were. From what I understand, you had some time at the London College of Style. I would love for you to tell us more about that experience, so sort of when you were there, what made you want to go there, and some of the experiences you had at the London College of Style.
I'm part of a global network called Mastered HQ. So I can basically shoot an editorial anywhere in the world. It was part of what made me actually push my headpieces into a stronger brand. And I think sitting in London, one of the fashion capitals of the world, I couldn't have chosen a better place to come to.
Okay, cool. Now, that point of view and your brand, let's really zone into that at this point. So in 2011, you established the Nicolette Bosch brand. What was the aim of that brand? Because I know it's different for every individual that creates their own thing. So for you, what was the aim of that brand when you created it?
I tend to work, everybody tackles a project differently.
Yeah.
If I can see the end goal, I can fill all the pieces backwards. Some people have to do things from 1 to 10. If I can see the 10, I can work backwards. And I do that with my collections. I do that with editorial shoots. I have the vision. I have, sometimes I have a brief, and then I have to see how am I going to tell that story. So in terms of the brand, I saw a complete Nicolette Bosch house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a very ambitious idea and vision. So this next question is quite a real one, and I think it will really help people out there that are starting their own ventures or want to pursue their own dreams. And this is with regards to any early setbacks that you might have faced. So for example, negativity from those around you, or lack of self-confidence, or lack of connections. Were there any early setbacks you faced in the creation or progression of your brand? And you know, you're here now as 2021. So how did you overcome any of those setbacks, if any?
Norman, I think we all sit with some sort of fear in us, and how we navigate within that fear. And I think this pandemic has taught us that. As creatives, we work from a very deep place anyway. And with the pandemic, I think we've had to dig into our little toolbox, whatever that toolbox is, and how we cope with stress, how we cope with adversity. And I don't think that anybody globally can say, well, we collectively can all say that we've gone through the same thing. I don't think there's been anything ever in this world that we can say, I understand. And some people really got creative during this time. They were able to create fantastic collections from the creative. Some people fell off the grid and aren't doing what they used to do. And I will say I didn't do anything around my creative side. I shouldn't say I didn't do anything, but not in the progression that some people would have thought. I didn't make masks, for example, because I thought, I don't make masks. So why am I going to do that? Yes, so many people did it, but I didn't feel that it was the timing for that. So I started working on my loungewear collection, and I developed that. I picked up paintbrushes again, stuff that I didn't have time to do.
Amazing, yeah.
And I did that.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah. And while we're still in the context of 2021, so the pandemic, because you've alluded to it and people falling off the grid, the pandemic, I think it's safe to say, has severely impacted the creative industries on all levels. So for example, studios like this where we're at today, we couldn't access them. Social distancing meant that a lot of things couldn't be done. So, I mean, we're here now, and I would just love to know how you've adjusted both professionally and personally to this challenging time. That is quite a loaded question.
It is.
But yeah.
I think I've had to recreate, re-establish where are we moving in terms of fashion. We've all, you know, there's been a lot of, everything has been around reusable, recyclable, sustainability is a big buzzword at the moment. And how am I going to navigate through that? I had to dig really deep, and it came at a time. I tend to come up with probably my best work when I clear all the noise. And I was based in South Africa for a few months of this year. And I was very lucky to be so close to the ocean, just in touch with nature, listening to our inner voice. And it's my inner voice that always guides me in everything that I do. It's that gut feel when you know something's right or you know something's wrong, and you go with it. And I surround myself with those positive people too, both in my personal and my professional life.
Amazing, amazing. I love that. And just building on this idea of following a gut feeling, you know, look where your vision in 2011 has led you now insofar as the brand. And on that point, I'd love to know, you know, your work has been featured in the likes of Vouge Italia, Stylecruze magazine, and much, much more. I'd love to know about any career highlights that you might have from your time in the industry. You know, was it somebody specific that you worked with, like, oh my gosh, that's that person, oh, I meet them in real life and here they are? Or was it a particular campaign or feature, or is there anything in your career that you will always, at this moment in time, hold on to, like, I did that, or that was my moment where I was really affirmed in what I'm doing?
In terms of highlights, in terms of designers that are out there, I've worked London Fashion Week on the styling side quite a lot. And I think Paul Costello is one of those people that really stands out both as a professional in the way when he walks on set and backstage, everybody from the model to the makeup artist to the person making the coffee is treated exactly the same. And those qualities I completely admire in somebody successful in the design world and in the fashion world. I've worked on loads of backstage with different designers, and he's definitely one of those people that I think, wow, very inclusive. His family are always around him, and yeah, his family are a very key part of his brand, and I think I've always liked to do that with the Nicolette Bosch brand as well. If I can include models of friends, children, of family, I pull them in. Sometimes meet people just by chance. No coincidences in life. Everything happens as it should.
Yeah, no, I agree. And on that point of accessibility, there is one question I want to ask you that I'm dying to in the closing stages of this interview, and that's about the industry more generally and accessibility. So me, I'm a layman, though I've had my experiences, so for example, London Fashion Week, and, you know, being on set and seeing what that looks like. To me, if I'm completely honest, though I've flirted with those worlds, the worlds of styling as design, as cool as they look really hard to enter into. They look almost reserved, you know, in a sense of you have to know the right people, or, you know, just almost be in the right space at the right time, in that sense of accessibility. So I'd love to know from your perspective, you know, you've just spoken about how you try to make things accessible and do your piece. How right am I in what I'm saying in the sense of the industries that you exist in being not as accessible? What's your perspective on that? Have I got it wrong, or am I onto something there? What do you think?
I think everything is adjusted through everybody's lens.
Yes.
From our personal experience in life and who we surround ourselves with. Again, I get back to that because if you're brave enough to walk into a door and introduce yourself, you're halfway there. You've shown up. So nothing is unattainable, but you've got to have the courage to do it.
I agree. And that's how we're here in this situation. As crazy as it sounds. But no, my last question I'd love to pose to you, and you've given me a little snippet there in terms of advice, you know, putting yourself out there and being confident. Well, to the average person that's watching this on the other side of the camera thinking, she looks so cool and I really want to do what she's doing in the worlds of styling and design and galore, but they don't know where to start or what to do. What advice would you give to them in terms of how to really get in the game, as it were, or to make that first move?
Choose one thing and do it to the best of your ability. Research it, find somebody that can mentor you, and just go after it. Cool. If you're passionate about it, you can achieve anything.
Cool, cool. And I can speak to that as well, just the idea of if you put yourself in the right position, your frame of mind is right, and you believe in what you're doing, things somehow always fall into place. With that being said, that wraps up the interview with the amazing Nicolette Bosch. She's been an absolute gem today. And this is the beginning of her day. She's got a million amazing things that she's up to. So thank you so much for joining us here this afternoon. And I'm sure we'll check in really soon. But I've really enjoyed your time. And thank you for sharing your perspectives with us today.
Thank you for the invitation. Awesome. Really enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.